Hey guys, Bob from RetroRGB here, and I'm doing a review of the NeoGeo Pocket ROM cart. So let's open this thing up and give it a try. So as you can see, this thing comes in some pretty nice packaging. So let's cut it open and see what it looks like. Okay, it comes with the manual. It's actually kind of cool. Not much comes with the manual anymore. And it's in what looks to be a really high quality 3D printed case. I mean, this is nice. This doesn't feel like a cheap 3D print. This feels pretty solid. So I'm also really glad that they didn't waste any other NeoGeo Pocket games on this, and that way you don't have to waste any of the guts. You could just use the plastic. But let me take a look at what it takes to get this thing running and go from there. Well, I didn't show any installation because there isn't any. You literally just take a bunch of ROMs, dump them on a micro SD card, and you're good. So I'm just going to put this thing in. Looks very cool in the clear back of this model. And I will boot it up. Okay, so as you can see, the menu actually has two sections to it. A flash section, and then when you press the option button, it reads the SD card and then actually shows the contents of it. So you could scroll down, or if you hold down the B button, you could go down by page. And it takes a little while to read by page, but it's still faster than scrolling game by game. And I know it's kind of hard to see here because the screen isn't backlit, but once you select the game, you press A, and it's going to start flashing. But it takes a really long time to do that, so I'm going to speed it up, and I'm also just going to show you guys how long it's actually taking. So let me just line this up, and... Okay, so 4 minutes to flash a game. That's a little rough. Okay, let's see once it's in flash. Let's take a look. So you hit the options button to go back to the flash menu. And now once this is stored, I believe you just hit A. And I'm not going to speed this up. This is in real time. So that's not bad at all. I mean, that's just what you'd expect out of pretty much any ROM cart. The functionality, I did play around with a couple games, and the functionality is the exact same as a regular cart, so there's no surprises there. Maybe let me load up a couple of ROMs and then see how many I could store in the flash memory area. I ended up loading the entire thing until it said 0.5 megabytes free. And the loading times were pretty consistent, about 4 minutes for a 4 meg game, 2 minutes for a 2 meg game, and 1 minute for a 512 meg game. So it's pretty long loading times, but as you can see, you could actually keep a lot on here, obviously depending on the size of the ROMs that you load. One good thing though is that you don't have to format the whole flash side when you want to add or remove a game. You could just go into the menu and hit delete, then hit A to confirm. And then you could see it just went up 1.5 megs free. So it's pretty cool that you could just go into your SD card, select your favorite games, and then maybe rotate out different ones, but at least you don't have to sit there and reflash everything each time. I've also learned a few things about the SD card menu itself and how it works. I figured that if you put them in, all of the ROMs into directories, everything loads a lot faster. So if you remember before, every time we went into the menu and hit page up and page down, it took a while to load, but now this is pretty instant. And then putting things in individual directories seems to speed up the loading, or at least the reading of the SD card a lot. So that's definitely something I'd recommend And I'll leave a link in the description to an auto ROM sorter for anybody who could just dump their ROM sets in and have them automatically put in directories. But I would suggest keeping it so that each directory doesn't overfill the page, which should be pretty easy because there aren't a ton of ROMs for the NGP. Another thing that I saw that was very cool was you could actually take the SD card out and only read off of the flash memory. So it's actually a pretty neat feature, since you'll be able to just load up the games that you want to use and only really use the SD card to transfer stuff back and forth should you choose. So when you try to go in without one, it just says no card, but as you can see, the game actually loads fine right from flash memory. So I think that's a pretty neat feature, and there aren't too many ROM cards that do that, so it's pretty neat that you could just use the SD to transfer and just kind of play the game. I'd like to go over a few other features of the ROM card. First of all, it works on all of the model NeoGeo Pockets that I tried. We have the standard version that you would have found in the US, the original NeoGeo Pocket, the black and white, not color version, and then the one that I've been using, which is the last release, which sometimes have been nicknamed the Slim. And I actually think this is the most comfortable version to play and has the best screen. But back to the ROM card itself, you could use any SD card as long as it's formatted FAT32. So I actually tried a 128 gigabyte card just to see what would happen, and that's the one I've been using. It worked perfect. But you could use any SD card or micro SD as long as it's formatted FAT32. The entire ROM set for the NeoGeo Pocket is less than 200 megabytes, so I would literally just use the cheapest one possible, and that way you could just save money, and the loading times are going to be the same pretty much no matter what anyway. Overall, I like it. I could totally get used to having the handful of games I want on hand in Flash, and then just having an old micro SD card in there with the full ROM set in case I want to swap one out. I totally don't think that would take away from the experience, especially because I usually tend to play only a handful of games at a time, and I only swap between them when testing for videos like this. Overall, for $100, I think it's a very good deal. I know there's a cheaper alternative available called the Neo Flash Master, which I believe is about half price, but that is a single flash cart. Well, it actually has about 4 megs of memory on it, so you could have one larger game or a few of the smaller games on it, but it's still something that you should consider a single flash cart and that you need a PC for, whereas this, you really just need a PC to transfer the games to the SD card. As far as the loading times go, those are the only things that were a little disappointing, but I spoke to the creator James, and he said he's definitely going to try to improve it in future firmwares, but there's not much that he could do due to the way the NeoGeo Pocket would read flash RAM. I think his exact words were, with the NeoGeo Pocket, the system is heavily tied to flash chip logic, so there's not much you can do in terms of a more instant load time. So there you go, coming right from the horse's mouth. This is about as good as it's going to get, and I'm okay with it. So overall, I give it still give it a totally positive review. I just want to have curb people's expectations once they get it. Make sure to put everything into individual folders and expect really long load times to get the games into Flash. But just to reiterate, as you see, they boot pretty instantly once they're in Flash, and obviously they stay there. You don't have to worry about losing the game when you power it off. Well, that just about sums it up. Other than the load times, this thing works perfect, so I really don't have any major complaints about it at all. As for this video, I'd love to hear what you guys think down below. Is there something I missed? Is there something you'd like me to do next time? I really read all of your comments, and I really try to get better and really listen to your criticism, so always appreciated when you post down below, and hopefully I could find little ways to constantly improve. Also, as always, thanks so much to my Patreons, because without you guys, I couldn't make these videos, so I really appreciate it. Well, that's about it. See you guys next time.